So this is a question and answer satsang. Swami Brahmananda collected the questions and is going to ask them, and I'll do my level best to answer them. So we are going to start now.
Om Swamiji, can you please tell us about the classical practice of the advanced pranayama? How are the asanas part of it? And who can practice these practices?
There is a path which is called Hatha Yoga. Hatha, sun and moon. Prana and apana. Yoga means union. So it's called, that the name of the path is the union of the sun and the moon, or the union of prana and apana, two energies. And it belongs to a group of yogas which are within the school of Raja Yoga. Raja Yoga, as you know, is one of the four main parts of yoga, and it is the yoga of meditation. But within that great part of yoga, there are four schools: mantra yoga, laya yoga or kundalini yoga, hatha yoga, and dhyana yoga. Dhyana yoga means the yoga of meditation. These are the four schools, and the order by which I mention them is specific because it goes according to the capacity of the practitioner. So practitioners of the lowest capacity will practice mantra yoga, of a higher capacity laya yoga or kundalini yoga, much higher capacity hatha yoga, highest capacity dhyana yoga or the yoga of meditation. So hatha yoga is a path which has exactly the same goals like the path of Raja Yoga. The goal is to realize the self by following the path of meditation. And meditation here means meditation at its highest, which means samadhi. There are two types of samadhi mentioned within the path of Raja Yoga: a lower samadhi and a higher samadhi. And it's extremely difficult to attain these samadhis, these levels of meditation. They are very high. But the ultimate purpose is the realization of the self. And the path of Hatha Yoga has exactly the same purpose like the path of Raja Yoga, but the means of achieving it are different. In Raja Yoga, we work directly with the mind, and we learn to control and to restrain the thought waves within the mind. In Hatha Yoga, we don't walk with the mind directly. We walk with the pranas. We walk with the life energies. But by manipulating the life energies, we are controlling the mind. We are controlling the thought waves within the mind. And we achieve meditation. The same deep meditation that is mentioned within the scripture of Raja Yoga, which is called the Yoga Sutras of Patanjali. Very high levels of meditation. The Hatha Yoga path also has a lot in common with Laya Yoga, with Kundalini Yoga, because within the process of Hatha Yoga, the power which is called Kundalini Shakti is awakened. So it's a very high yoga. It's called forceful yoga. Forceful because the progress is very fast. It's like climbing a mountain which is very steep, so you can attain the top very fast, but at the same time it's dangerous, it's risky. Therefore, the most advanced practices of Hatha Yoga are kept secret. They are taught only to an initiated disciple, and they are taught under very strict conditions. You cannot study Hatha Yoga from a book, not online. You need to be with a guru, and that guru has to be a master of Hatha Yoga. He needs to know what he is doing. It's a very powerful system of yoga, but as I told you, those practices which are mentioned are secret. They are secret in order to protect the practitioners. They are divulged only when a teacher guides directly a student within strict conditions, which are retreat conditions. In fact, Hatha Yoga should be practiced solitary. Means the real authentic Hatha Yoga is such that the practitioner is alone and he sees only his guru or her guru. So, of course, I'm not going to discuss this publicly. On the other hand, there is a part of Hatha Yoga which is very beneficial and very helpful to all the other practices of Karma Yoga, of Bhakti Yoga, of Jnana Yoga, and of Dhyana Yoga, or the Yoga of meditation. All the practices are helped by those benign practices of Hatha Yoga, and these practices are public, which are the cultural postures. There are two types of postures: cultural, which are for health, and meditative, which are for pranayama and meditation. So these are the postures. The relaxation is very beneficial. The basic pranayama practices are very beneficial, like the alternate nostril breathing and kapalabhati, and the yogic full breath. All these practices are beneficial, and they are taught publicly to everyone. They are very, very helpful and very popular today. But the advanced practices, as I told you, are not public. Now, within our organization, we teach them to a certain degree during the Advanced Yoga Teacher Training course. It's more like an introduction. Actually, in the teacher training course already we introduced them to a certain degree. And more in the Advanced Yoga Teacher Training course. And then we have the Sadhana Intensive, which is a Hatha Yoga retreat. And there we go much in depth into these practices. Swami Vishnudevananda, at a certain stage in his life, taught us these very advanced practices of Hatha Yoga, and he established the Sadhana Intensive course, which is a Hatha Yoga retreat, where under his supervision we practiced these very advanced practices. He was a master of the science of Hatha Yoga. He crossed the path of Hatha Yoga from beginning to end. So even when he was with Swami Sivananda, he was considered to be a master of Hatha Yoga. And at a certain point here in the West, he agreed to teach the more advanced practices, and he established the Sadhana Intensive. And I was fortunate to participate in 26 sadhana intensives. Many of them under his direct supervision. He trained me personally to teach it. I had to do it myself many times under his supervision. So I can tell you from experience that there is a good reason why those practices are kept secret. Okay. But even today in our organization, we teach the sadhana intensive. So those of you that want to participate, they can join such a course. Again, this is as much as you are going to get in this organization. Here and there in India, somewhere in remote caves and jungles, you may find masters of Hatha Yoga, maybe. It's not certain. Otherwise, Swami Vishnudevananda revealed as much as possible, and he shared with us a lot of this science or a lot of this knowledge.
Om Swamiji. I am on Karma Yoga at the ashram and am inspired by the practice and the ashram as a whole. How can I become a better Karma Yogi, and how can I deepen my Karma Yoga practice?
Just continue to do what you are doing. There's no better advice, because the very environment of the ashram will make you a better Karma Yogi. Just continue. I asked the same question my guru, Swami Vishnudevananda, many years back. And that's what he told me. Just continue to do what you are doing. And he was, after many years, I know that he was right. Because it's a long practice. It's long practice. Karma Yoga is about thinking about others, serving others, taking care of others, doing good to others, loving others, and choosing the path of the good, the path that leads to liberation. So, in the ashram we have many opportunities to eradicate selfishness, to eradicate the ego, because so many people are here that will help us to do so. And there was, I think, that one of our speakers, maybe this year, maybe another year, someone mentioned, oh yeah, I know who it was, that if you want to polish something, you need to polish it against a rough surface, right? Like you have, huh? Sandpaper, yeah, right? So you have many sandpapers within an ashram. See, if you just rub against a smooth and nice and soft surface, nothing will happen. So an ashram is a kind of environment where you have the opportunity to become a good Karma Yogi. So all I have to say is just continue. Continue to learn, continue to open the heart, and to learn, to practice, and to serve.
Om Swamiji. Lately, my heart is closed and I cannot feel the divine presence as I used to. What can I do to open my heart again?
Swami Sivananda taught it very well. Serve, serve, serve. Love, love, love. If you cannot love, just serve. You see, when the heart closes, service is the best cure. Serve, serve, serve. Love, love, love. Give, give, give. Purify, purify, purify. Meditate, meditate, meditate. Realize, realize, realize. That's all. But serve. Don't think about my heart is closed, my heart. Do your sadhana, do your daily spiritual practice, and serve others. Don't focus too much on your heart, which is closed. It's better to focus on the needs of others. And the heart will open. And do your sadhana, whether your heart is open or closed, it doesn't matter. Just do your sadhana, do your spiritual practice. The heart will reopen. For certain. For certain. There's no doubt about it. Be patient. The path is long. Things do not happen overnight. That's all. An ashram is a place where we come in order to open our hearts. This is what we do here. So it will open. or in the case of the questioner, it will reopen. Okay?
Om Swamiji, can you please explain who is a Swami, how does one become a Swami, and what is the typical daily routine of a Swami?
Swami Brahmananda is a Swami, and he will tell you how he became a Swami.
I will tell.
And what? No, I'm joking. The yogic path is, I told you, it's a long path. In fact, we know that it continues for many reincarnations. It's not just one lifetime. So life after life, we come and we continue the practice. And we say, first of all, we need to learn which path leads to the highest good and which path leads to suffering. We need to understand these two things. So we meet a teacher and he shows us the two paths, a path that leads to suffering, a path that leads to the highest good. And then we need to understand the meaning of duty within this life. We are not born just in order to enjoy. We are born in order to carry a mission. We are born with a life mission, and sooner or later we are going to find what it is. And this we call our duty in this life. We have a duty. We need to understand the idea of duty. We need to understand what is the path that leads to the highest good and to happiness, and what is the path that leads to suffering. And we need to make a choice. And this is the very beginning of the path. Once we made that choice, we are ready for the path of karma yoga. Path of karma yoga is the path of selfless service to our fellow beings. And this is the path that will purify our heart and will purify our mind. And it's probably the most important part of yoga. And by following this path, we are coming to a point where our mind is pure enough so we can meditate. So we say that karma yoga leads to dhyana yoga, to the yoga of meditation. Without purifying the mind, it's not possible to meditate. And without meditation, it's not possible to realize the self. And then the path of meditation leads us to bhakti, to love and devotion, and leads us to a direct experience of God which dwells within our own heart, or Ishvara, and of divine love, all-embracing love. Leads us to bhakti. And bhakti gives birth to jnana, or to wisdom, or to knowledge. Bhakti makes us ready to enter into the path of wisdom, the path of knowledge, the path of the realization of the self. And that path is called jnana yoga, the yoga of knowledge, or the yoga of wisdom. And the yoga of wisdom leads us to renunciation. Renunciation is a choice to renounce that which is ephemeral and untrue, and to choose that which is permanent and true. And this path of wisdom leads to renunciation, and renunciation leads to self-realization or moksha. Moksha means spiritual liberation. So I showed you, it's a long path. Now, when you take sannyasa, you are initiated into the path of knowledge, the path of Jnana Yoga. And you are initiated into the path of renunciation. And it's an initiation. It's like starting a fire. It doesn't mean that you are already established in the path. It doesn't mean that you are already a renunciate. Renunciate is not something external. It's the outcome of the realizations that you get when you follow the path of wisdom. And then the person that was initiated is a little bit like a child which plays with a doll. Let's say a girl plays with a doll, but then in the future she may become a mother, so it's not anymore a doll, it's a real child. So the girl that plays with the doll, she's not yet a mother, but there is something there which prepares her. Similarly, when you get the initiation, you are like the girl that plays with the doll. This is not yet the real path of renunciation, but you are entering into the path. You are going into a training. And again, it's a long training. It has a lot to do with removal of illusion, removal of ignorance, removal of misapprehension of reality, and discovering the true nature of things. It's not an intellectual path, by the way, because it is born out of bhakti, it is born out of divine love. It's not an intellectual yoga. This is a wrong, the kind of intellect that you need for the path of wisdom comes out of meditation. It's an extraordinary intellect that is born out of meditation and devotion. It's not the ordinary intellectual mind. So the meaning is that a person approaches his guru and asks to be initiated as a Swami, and the guru may say no many times and may guide the person to follow the path. But it doesn't matter. Once you're initiated, you are on this path. And it's not an easy path. It's actually very difficult. It's not like in the army. Sometimes people have the impression that, let's say, if you are a brahmachari, it's, like in the army, you get those, what do you call it?
Ranks.
You are like a one-star general, and a Swami is a two-star general. It's like, no. It's not like this. Brahmachari means that you are in the path of discipleship. This is brahmachari. And a Swami, you are on the path of renunciation. But it's a path. It's a path with a long practice, many obstacles, guidance by a teacher. But the gist of that path, as I told you, is renunciation. And it's mainly renunciation of illusion. It's like when we wake up from, let's assume that we dreamt, and in the dream we invested in the stock market. Then we woke up. Then what happened to all of our investments? You see? So it's like this. Then when you wake up, you renounce your investments. So you say, oh, this person is a renunciate. It's like this. It is renunciation of illusion. Then in your dream, You crossed whole India from Kanyakumari up to the Himalayas. Like you crossed India. You took a pilgrimage of 1 year walking India in your dream. Then you woke up. Then you realize that you didn't take even one step. Then you renounce this idea that anything truly happened. You didn't cross India, you didn't even take one step. It was all an illusion. So it's like this. So it's renunciation, but it's renunciation of illusion. Or you may say that in my dream I went every day to the gym. Then I woke up and I'm still flabby. And how is it possible? Then you renounce the illusion. It's not now, illusions have their own value. We don't say that illusions are without value, but they are illusions. So in the path of wisdom, you need to understand what is truth and what is illusion, to discern. Illusions have their own use, but you need to understand that they are illusions. Then you can enter to the gate of freedom. Okay? So I'm just telling you a little, because when you hear a Swami renounces, really what he renounces is illusion. He does not renounce anything which is real. So it's not such a big loss, right? Actually, it's a gain. But it's very difficult to recognize illusion. This is the point. And even when we recognize illusion, it's very difficult to give it up. But once you gave up illusion, you are free. In many, many ways. Okay?
Om Swamiji, I find the idea of brahmacharya very significant to the spiritual life, but it sounds very demanding and out of my reach. Could you please give me some guidance?
Brahmacharya means celibacy. It means the control of all the senses, self-control. It also means that you are a student, a disciple to a guru, to a spiritual preceptor. Now, why do we practice celibacy? We practice celibacy in order to transmute the sexual energy into spiritual energy. This is why we practice celibacy. Swami Sivananda explains that celibacy is like the electricity, like the bulb that needs the electricity in order to shine. Celibacy is necessary in the spiritual path. Now, there are yogis which are married, so even they practice a kind of brahmacharya. If you are married and if you are faithful to your partner, this is considered to be a kind of celibacy. So but celibacy by itself is not sufficient. It needs to be coupled with yogic practice so that energy can be transmuted. Because if that energy is not transmuted, it's not celibacy, but it is just suppression. And this is not what we are trying to do. Now, naturally, this is a difficult practice because it has another component. It has the component of controlling all the senses and controlling those desires which are behind the senses and transmuting them. Again, you transmute them into spiritual power. And the last thing, which is the most difficult, is to be a student or to be a disciple. This is the most difficult thing. Here again, you are transmuting many things into a higher form of willpower, which is the spiritual willpower. And at the same time, you learn self-surrender, which is a very important quality of the spiritual aspirant in order to receive grace. And grace is very necessary within the yogic path. So, how to be successful in the path of brahmacharya. The first step is to be in the company of other spiritual practitioners. You need to be inspired. You need help because sometimes our practice is slacking. At that time we need help. We need encouragement. We need to be in the company of a teacher that will guide us and encourage us during times of difficulty. All these things are necessary. It's difficult to be a brahmachari when you are alone. It's much easier when you are in the company of other practitioners. But it's definitely possible to be successful if you are determined, if you have faith, and if you are inspired by your own practice. That's all I have to say.
Om Swamiji, I learned in class about mitahara or moderation. Specifically in regards to diet, what are some guidelines you can share on how to implement it?
I can't share anything, but mitahara means moderation in eating. And there is a formula. When you eat, you should fill half of the stomach with solid food, 1/4 of the stomach with liquid, and 1/4 of the stomach you need to leave empty. So the idea is that at the end of a meal, you should feel a little hungry. You should not feel full or bloated. You should leave some part of your stomach empty. This is the idea of mitahara. And yogis are practicing this in all forms of yoga, specifically when you practice the yoga of meditation, specifically when you practice hatha yoga. When you practice hatha yoga, this is very important, but also when you are meditating. So the followers of the path of Raja Yoga definitely are practicing mitahara. That's all I have to say. So, half stomach full with solid food, 1/4 with liquid, 1/4 empty. That's it.
Om Swamiji, what is the power of the mantra? How does it benefit the person using it? Why should we never change the focal point of meditation?
That which protects your mind is the mantra. The mantra will protect the mind. The mantra is a name of God, of the Supreme Being. It is said that the Supreme Being and the mantra are one and the same. When you repeat the mantra immediately, you are in the presence of God. It is said that what you think you become, therefore, by constant repetition of the mantra being what it is the most powerful thing that can purify your mind. So by constant repetition of the mantra, eventually you are going to get the darshan, the direct vision. You're going to have the direct experience of the divine within your own heart. Or some people will have the direct experience of the divine, not just within their own heart, also outside. And once you have the experience of the divine directly, your life will be changed for the better forever. And eventually, what you think you become, it will help you to unite with the divine within your own heart. It is one of the most potent, most powerful methods of meditation. In fact, most of the yogi masters through the ages, through thousands of years, recommended the meditation on a mantra as the best way to realize the self, as the easiest way. In fact, it is said that in the Kali Yuga, in this age, the easiest way to realize God or to realize the self is to chant the divine name. And to chant the divine name, you can chant the divine name aloud, like in kirtan, in silence, or mentally. When you chant the divine name mentally, this is meditation. So it's simple. Just by repeating the divine name, you're going to attain the highest levels of meditation. But you need to persevere. And you need to do it in a proper way. And you need to do it with the proper attitude. And you need to practice also the other practices of yoga. Then you are going to attain your goal. Okay.
Om Swamiji. It's my first time in the ashram, and I very much enjoyed the beauty of the temples and the deities. Can you please explain how can I gain a better understanding of what they are?
You need to, I think once a week, we have what we call the art tour of the ashram, right? Where we are taking the guests on a tour and we explain to them. Tomorrow there is such a tour, you see? you got the answer. So tomorrow there is such a tour of the ashram, and whoever will lead the tour will explain the meaning of all of these deities and the symbolic meaning and everything else. So this is how we do it here. I think we have it once a week.
Om Swamiji. What does a good sadhana consist of? How do I make a firm resolve to commit to the spiritual path?
Swami Sivananda said, design for yourself a spiritual routine, spiritual daily routine, and keep a spiritual diary every day. So a spiritual routine means that you determine, okay, what time I'm going to wake up every morning. You're going to write it down. And when I wake up, what am I going to do? You write it down. For example, when I wake up, I'm going to wash fast. Then I'm going to sit and meditate. And then I'm going to do a short routine of asanas, yogic postures, and pranayama, according to the time that I have, like this. And then you say, during the day, I'm going to practice karma yoga. I'm going to develop divine qualities. I'm going to serve as much as I can. I'm going to do good as much as I can. And I'm going to do it applying the principles of karma yoga. Then, during the day, I'm going to repeat the divine name as much as possible. And then in the evening, I'm going to do some swadhyaya, some study of yogic scriptures. And then, before retiring, I'm going again to do little pranayama and meditation, just before going to bed. And then the last thought that I'm going to have when I lie down in bed is the thought of the Supreme Being, the thought of the highest. The mantra should be the last thought. So this is an example. So, and there are more items there, but so you design a daily routine, and then you write a spiritual diary where, okay, what time did I wake today? Okay. And did I practice meditation in the morning? Did I practice yogic postures in the morning? Did I practice pranayama in the morning? And then what did I do during the day? How many times I was angry during the day? What did I do about it? How many times I was impatient, like this? And did I walk today in order to develop those qualities that I decided to develop, like this? So we fill in the spiritual diary at night before we retire, before we go to sleep. And we do it every day. In this way, slowly, slowly, we are able to implement the daily routine about which we decided. Then, once a month, let's say, once a week or once a month, we can send our spiritual diary to our teacher, so our teacher can look at it and send corrections. So this is a very good way to do it.
Om Swamiji. How does one develop perception beyond the five senses?
This will happen through the purification of the heart, to the purification of the mind, and to the prolonged practice of meditation. So karma yoga is essential. Mind has to be purified. And meditation is essential. But we don't meditate for this purpose. We do not meditate in order to become psychic. We meditate in order to realize the self. But those yogic powers or yogic abilities develop as byproducts of our practice. You don't have to worry about this. Intuition is going to become stronger as you practice. And the higher senses are going to be activated as you practice. And when this happens, you will definitely approach your teacher in order to get explanation and guidance and clarifications. But what we do, we just follow the yogic practice and stay open to what happens. And this type of things will happen. So karma yoga and then dhyana yoga, the yoga of meditation, will bring these things about. Okay?
Om Swamiji, can you please tell us a personal story or stories about the character of your Guru, Swami Vishnudevananda?
Swamiji was a great yogi. He was a great disciple. If you notice, he didn't call this organization on his own name. This organization is not called Swami Vishnudevananda Yoga Vedanta Center. It's called Swami Sivananda Yoga Vedanta Center. So for Swamiji, for himself, he was nothing. His guru was everything. So this is the first thing. The second thing, he was a great practitioner, the greatest that I met. Under any circumstances, he will continue his practice. Not because he needed. He didn't, after years, many of the practices he didn't need. But he continued to practice in order to set a good example to his disciples. I saw him practice even when he was very sick. He had a few strokes and he was always practicing. And then he was the greatest karma yogi that I met. He was always serving others, living for others, using every moment in the 24 hours to help other people. Here in this ashram, guests that came for many years to the ashram, and many came. And I can tell you they were not necessarily the ideal model of a spiritual aspirant. In fact, they would come here and during time of satsang with Swamiji, they will run to, there was a hotel here, not Atlantis, not Club Med. It was, I think, there was Holiday Inn, and then there was a hotel before the Holiday Inn. Anyway, they loved Swamiji. They adored Swamiji. They would come every year, but during satsang, they would run to the hotel to dance. And Swamiji would give satsang, and they would be there. And they would miss many of his talks. And they would come again next year. But they will give their life for him. So he put me in charge. I was in charge of discipline. He put me in charge to discipline these people, which was very embarrassing because Swami, at that time, there were roll calls for everything, like not just for satsang, like for yoga classes. He would check who was and was not in. He would send us to the rooms in the morning, not just to knock, to pull the guests out of their bed. So I was in charge of the discipline for quite a while, under Swamiji here. And after a while, the guests developed techniques to how to cheat the system. Like, so they will sign on the roll call, and then they will sneak out. And then after a while, I thought that Swamiji is not doing it for the discipline; he's doing it for me, because I couldn't figure it out. Because I realized that it's a game. It's what's going on here. But they were ready to die for him. They loved him so much. And then one day I decided, okay, that's enough. So I started to speak with those guests. Why are you coming here? You know, what's going on? And I started to hear personal stories, many, many personal stories. Each individual was telling me how Swamiji saved his life, how Swamiji transformed his life, how Swamiji saved the life of his children. I could not believe it. I said, when did he do it? Because you always run away to that place. I mean, I am in charge of discipline. I cannot figure out when did he manage to do all these things. But after a while, I spoke with most of them, and each one had an extraordinary personal story of how Swamiji changed the person's life. And you'll see, you know, he would ask, oh, Mr. So-and-so, how are you? How is your wife? How are the children? You know, and you crack a joke with them. But anyway, so then I realized that he loves them so much, and through his love, he transformed their life. And you couldn't figure it from the outside. From the outside, it looked like a chaotic place. But, and so he had a lot of love. He was a great karma yogi. I said, he was the greatest karma yogi that I met. When he got his strokes, and he was handicapped, at that time he became accessible to everyone 24 hours a day. You could go to his house anytime. There was constant satsanga. And he had this routine of, we had a car. It was we would put him in the car in a stretcher, and then he would say he wants to go to Montreal. So when he would reach Montreal, he would say, where are you? Oh, we are in Montreal, Swamiji. Okay, back to the yoga camp. When we reached the yoga camp, he would ask, where are we? Yoga camp. Okay, back to Montreal. Like this, back and forth, back and each time he would take other people into that car. And sometime on the way he would stop at Dunkin' Donuts and order for everyone hot chocolate and donuts. And it was continuing like this. But he was full of light, and on the way he would give teachings. When he would go to his house, he would give teachings. And the staff would take care of him. He was handicapped, but it was constant satsanga. He would ask us to read from the Srimad Bhagavatam continuously. about the stories of Lord Krishna. And he will have all the signs of bhakti, all the high signs of bhakti. And then he would fall asleep. And then some of the people that read for him will stop reading, because what's the point to read to someone that fell asleep? But the moment you stopped reading, he would wake up and say, why did you stop? You would have to continue. And it went like this on and on in innumerable ways. Then he was in a very difficult situation physically. And one time, that was the Krishna Jayanti, the celebration of the birthday of Lord Krishna. And all the ashram went to the Krishna temple in Valmoran, and they brought in Swamiji. And the temple is quite small, and many people, and it's enclosed, and I think there was not enough oxygen in the temple. So Swamiji fainted. So we took him first outside the temple. And everyone came out very worried. But the moment he opened his eyes, he asked, how is everybody? Is everybody doing okay? He never cared about himself. He always cared about other people. Then his difficult situation started when his driver took him for a drive during winter in Valmoran, Canada, and there was a car accident, and Swamiji was badly injured, and they took him to the hospital. And he had many adventures in the hospital where basically the doctors became his devotees, and one of the doctors became a close devotee. But the point is, he was in the emergency ward, and there was the initiation of the yoga teacher training course in our headquarters, and suddenly we hear an ambulance sound, siren of an ambulance. And he asked them to bring him from the emergency ward, from the intense care, to bring him to the ashram for the inauguration of the yoga teacher training course. And they brought him on the stretcher with all the gadgets on the stage. Now, we are healthy and he is badly injured. He looks at us, he had a great sense of humor with a beatific smile. And he asked, who are you? No, that's not what he asked. No, I make a mistake. What he did, he said, Om Namah Shivaya. Swami Prema is doing like this because she was there. He says, Om Namah Shivaya. So we all said Om Namah Shivaya. This is our custom. And then he asked, now remember, he's in a very difficult situation, but he's having a great time. Then he's asking all of us, who is Shiva? Then we are taken aback. What can we answer him? So we started to give different answers. Then he started to laugh and he said, you are Shiva. And it was a wonderful inauguration. Then they took it back into the ambulance. Siren is going on back to the hospital. And it went like this. So many stories. I participated in some of his peace missions. I saw with my own eyes how violence stops immediately as he arrives. Enemies that are ready to kill each other, they just stop everything. Everything changes. I saw him as, again, the greatest Hatha Yoga master that I met. Even when I took with him, I remember many years back when I took the yoga teacher training course, he was teaching everything, the how to teach class and all the Hatha Yoga classes, and he would have a peculiar way to teach. For example, let's say that you could not do the crow or the scorpion or the crow or the peacock or some difficult posture. So let's say I couldn't do the crow, let's assume. Then he will come and say, get up on the crow. He would know. He would come next to you, get up on the crow. And you could do it. Just like this. You simply could do it. And regarding pranayama, it went even beyond it, because he would teach Kapalabhati. So he would go with the Kapalabhati. And then he would say, okay, now stop your breath. So he would stop the breath, let's say for a minute. But what he would do, he would tell us, stop the breath. And then he said, okay, continue to hold the breath, I'm going to the bathroom. So this is bizarre, but what can we do? Okay, so we held our breath, and then he went to the bathroom for, I don't know, for a few minutes. But we were able to hold our breath for these few minutes. Then he would come back from the bathroom, and he would say, exhale, inhale, and he would start again, like this. So I had many years to see that he was the greatest master of Hatha Yoga. And he was a true bhakta. He was a true master of the yoga of devotion. He would take us on tours in our headquarters in Valmorin. I never saw something like this. He was in his wheelchair. So he wanted to go around his house. There is a lake, a pond. And he would stop at different plants, like a shrub. He would stop at the shrub. And he would point like this. Can you see? I see what, Swamiji? Lord Rama. Hanuman. Like this, he would go. All those deities that we were talking about, and he could see. He would see them and he would cry with tears of devotion. He would see them all the time. And of course, he was a master of Kundalini Yoga, master of Raja Yoga. He had all of the, and the best was when he was teaching Jnana Yoga, the Yoga of Wisdom. You would laugh all the time. But he understood Jnana Yoga. See, you are learning in the Bhagavad Gita that the way to get ready for Jnana Yoga, for the Yoga of Wisdom, is by practicing Karma Yoga. Now, we took with him the Advanced Yoga Teacher Training course, and in the Advanced Yoga Teacher Training course, you have classes of Vedanta, of Jnana Yoga. And he would teach them at his house. But he said, look, you want me to teach you Jnana Yoga, I will teach, but with one condition. Before I teach, you have to go into the forest. There's a forest around, and just to clean the forest. For 1 hour, just go and clean the forest or whatever. And he explained, you cannot understand Vedanta unless you practice Karma Yoga. Not theoretically. Before sitting and doing a class of Vedanta, you actually need to do Karma Yoga. Were you there, Swamiji? Swamiji was there. So he was like this. And in Valmorin, there are many black flies and mosquitoes. Much worse than here. Here we have some mosquitoes, but there, my God. And Swamiji occasionally would do a bonfire meditation at his house, and we would sit around. He loved the bonfire meditation. And we would sit around, meditate, chant different songs. And Swamiji would sit half naked, like bare chest. Now, there were clouds of mosquitoes. But we looked closely. No mosquito came close to him. Like, he was bare chest. You couldn't see even one mosquito on him. And the mosquitoes were eating us alive. Then one day we asked Swamiji, Swamiji, how is it possible? You bring us to these events and the mosquitoes and the black flies are eating us alive. But we noticed no mosquito comes close to you. How come? And Swamiji said, well, this is a long story, but if you like, I'll tell you. He said, many years back, when I came here, this was just forest. And at that time, the mosquitoes and the black flies were eating me alive. So I spoke with them and I said, look, let's make a deal. I'm going to bring you here lots of yogis. And you leave me alone. And he concluded by saying, and they did. So it goes on and on. So you can understand. He was such a person. We say there are people which are greater than life, and he was such a person. So it's a nice question, whoever asked it. And let's see, what's the time now? My time is over, I think. So my time is over. I would like to thank you so much. Om Tat Sat.